9:30, we call the meeting to order. Would you please stand and salute the United States flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Would you bow your head? Lord, we come to you tonight just being thankful for all of the gifts you've given us. Lord, there's so much wonderful talent in this district, both in the classroom, in administration, and in the student body. We just thank you. Lord, help make us our decisions, benefit them, and Lord, we just pray that this will be the best school year ever for GISD. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. I don't see anybody here wanting to give a public comment. So we have information items starting with the controller. Daryl.
Okay. I thought you had one first.
It's Big D night.
All right, Big D night. All right, let me open this sucker up.
We love you, Daryl.
Love you too.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the controller in the spring comes out with the property tax rates that all the districts have approved in the prior year. And they come out quicker than TDA. TDA will also disclose the rates, tax rates, but they come after. So usually, sometimes in the spring, I'll get this to you. To give you once a year, I'll give you an idea of what how we rate in terms of our tax levy, how we rate with other school districts in the state, in Region 12, and then also have a look at one which is called wealth ranking. And the wealth ranking is taking the taxable values and dividing it by the enrollment, and we come up with a taxable value by kiddo, and that's what I call the wealth ranking. So this is a chart right here that is in your board book. The top one there just shows you the M&O rate. It's going to be $69.92 this next year. We're going to maintain the INS at a 20 cent, which brings the total to $89.92. And so we show those, and I'm showing Region 12, I'm showing the state of Texas, and I'm showing what I was calling the wealth group. The wealth group is made up of school districts like us, 15% lower than we are to 50% higher. And it's about 150 school districts, by doing it that way, that we're comparing ourselves to in the wealth. So that's something that we have to construct ourselves. It's not something that's readily available. And then the second chart is going to show you the tax rates compared to the state of Texas. You see that we're pretty low. We're in the bottom 30th percentile on the M&O. INS, we're about in the middle of the pack, we're 56th percentile, and the combined worked out to be about the 66th percentile statewide. Region 12, the next chart, shows 40% percentile in Region 12 on the M&O, INS at 47%, and the total 55%. And then that wealth one's interesting because M&O is at 22, we're bottom 22%. When you look at similar districts to Gatesville ISD. INS is a little higher at 30%, the total is at 23%. So this pretty much goes along with the history of Gatesville ISD on the tax rates. We've been typically lower in the percentile ranking from, whether you look at Region 12 or whether you look at the state as a whole, or when you look at a wealth group like we did. So this is good information for you to have in mind. When we set a rate, you're like, I wonder how we figure in with all the other school districts.
So we certainly don't have to send our money elsewhere.
No.
No.
If we were a higher one, we would.
So anyway, that's the numbers that came from the controller's office, and the enrollment came from the TEA website. Any questions about our tax rate and the comparison of our rate to these other groups? I hope you're happy.
Yeah.
Well,
Looks good.
yeah.
Because
We certainly should be.
Yeah. Anyway, if you don't have any questions, that's the end of my presentation on the tax rates.
All right, United
I'll bring this to you
Methodists.
once a year.
All right.
Oh,
United Methodists want to use something.
So we have our first action item is a facility request that Mary Ann Lee brought to us. And so on behalf of the Gatesville United Methodists, they've been holding church, I guess, in restaurants and different venues. And so we have frequent requests for facilities, whether it be one-time events like from the Boy Scouts recently had an event, or we had a more reoccurring one with Ray Nunn, his church. Remember, I think years ago, we had Ray Nunn's folks at the Gatesville High School auditorium for probably a year or more. And so it's not an uncommon thing. City League, they rent our fields and gyms and all that. And so they filled out the appropriate facility request form. And so any costs associated with it, which would be very minimal if we needed a custodian or something. But basically, we're, from a management standpoint, perfectly fine with it. I know Mary Ann may want to abstain, Mackenzie, when you take the vote, because she's, but my recommendation is that the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees approve the facility request by the Gatesville United Methodist as presented. They're just asking for a classroom, to have a meeting room to hold worship every Sunday at 5.
Do I hear a motion? Linda, do I hear a second? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
did you
Okay.
get second? Who's second?
Cheyenne was the second, I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. Innovative course offerings.
All right. Every year, sometimes we pick an innovative course from the list of approved state innovative courses, and we've got a couple tonight that we're offering. Marketing, that's in Chase Smith's business strand, and then also speech and communication disorders, which goes in J.D. Weber's strand. And so we've got the course descriptions and all that good stuff, and those are not outlandish courses. They fit well within the strands, and those teachers are certainly capable of teaching it. But I gave a brief little synopsis of what each one entails. The communication disorders course is designed to provide knowledge and skills related to disorders that occur in children and adults in the areas of speech, sound, stuttering, voice disorders, and other language areas. An overview of treatment for hearing loss and deafness will be provided. So that would help kids pursue a career as like a speech pathologist here at the school, or an audiologist. And then the marketing course that Coach Smith would teach explores the 7 core functions of marketing. Things like pricing and product management and selling, and they have more hands-on projects dealing with those types of marketing efforts. And so I recommend that the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees approve those 2 innovative course offerings as presented.
Do we still offer just plain speech?
I think that might have gone away with Miss Mabry, I think, when she left. That was kind of Jenny's expertise, and when she left, we kind of lost that.
Do I hear a motion? Okay, Mary Ann makes a motion. Do I hear a second? Linda? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Property and casualty insurance renewal.
Oof.
We've talked about this before in a couple other meetings, and you're certainly aware as a board that we are facing pretty good increases.
I just got my home insurance. Did y'all get yours?
Mm-hmm.
Was it bad, Charles?
Yes, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's like
It's all going up.
$75 a month
More,
more.
yeah.
That's just amazing.
Just go shopping.
Yeah,
You shopping.
For the
That's what I do
same
on my personal.
amount of coverage.
yeah.
We're kind of restricted as far as the school district when you're shopping for property and casualty. There just aren't that many options. And unfortunately, we're facing a higher than a 25% increase in our premiums. The property values themselves, they were increased about 8%. So the 8% of that 25 is just increasing the property values. And then the rest of it was just increasing their insurance rates. Keep blaming it on the reinsured carriers. But, there's a lot of different companies that have part in the insurance process for us. It's not just PCAT, they rely heavily on reinsurance companies like Lloyd's of London. And so it's not, it's really almost beyond them too, for the rates, we don't control the rates. This is the third year of a 3-year agreement that we have with PCAT. And I hate that they increased it so much the last year. What are you gonna do? So the increase is about $113,000, and the bill is $559,000, which is, a big increase. We have the proposal here in your board book, and you can see the different categories. For instance, when you look at the 2024 coverage summary, it's showing $135 million for property, and that's up from $124,445 from the prior year. So that's really a major part of the increase was just in the property. I've looked pretty much through all the rest of the categories, and there's no big surprises. That's the big surprise right there, is the property rates. And you're noticing it on a personal level as well. I would suggest, if possible, that we shop this product next spring and to see what comes out. Maybe some good opportunities will avail themselves. Maybe TASB might take a look at us again. We had TASB years ago. But everyone is complaining about these big increases. I'm not sure how in depth you want me to go, but at least we've shown you the renewal document from PCAP. And if you have any questions about it, there's a 3-page
One of those things we
part
can't
down
do
here
anything
that
about.
deals with the changes. What's that, sir?
You just can't do anything about it.
Yeah. So, we are proposing as management, unfortunately, that we go ahead and renew our insurance through the PCAT company and just bite the bullet. We've already included the increase in our budget, and we're still able to put together a balanced budget for you for next year. Do you have any questions? This is an action item.
That just seems shows how hard y'all had to work on the budget to come up with a balanced
No,
budget when
you
you
have to
have
make up
huge
this.
increases like this.
And the state didn't do us any favors in terms of their funding. It's a rough year to be preparing budgets. A lot of school districts are doing negative budgets in the red, dipping into their fund balance. Any questions about the PCAT insurance?
Do I hear a motion, we accept it?
We don't want to, but we have to.
Linda's already told me she's not going to spend anything tonight. So right off the bat, I come up here with
Let it be known, the motion's made by Lloyd's of London. And seconded by, okay. Whoever wants to second, who wants to? All right, Charlie seconds.
Thank you, Charles.
All in favor? All right. Okay,
What choice?
now
Don't put that in the
redeemed,
paper.
redeemed. 500,000.
Redeem 500,000, okay. We've also discussed this in the board, but this is a resolution that I'd like for you guys to approve. It's basically approving our intent
Good idea.
in the school district to pay down $500,000. This will probably take place in February of next year. And the bond that we will pay down will be the elementary bond, the 2014 bond. And I've indicated that if we keep that, if we can do that every year for a few years, then we'll shave off 2 full years of payments on that bond payment and save around $400,000 in interest.
Oh, that's great.
So we had been contemplating possibly refinancing it, but I think this is good as well because the rates are not that great. So we're proposing for your approval that we plan and intend as a school district to make a $500,000 extra principal payment on our bonds next year. That's also in the budget.
Your motion to accept that? Okay, Mary Ann, do I have a second? All right. Linda? Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, now budget amendment.
So this resolution will be signed by the board president and secretary of the board of trustees. Ready for the next item?
Final budget amendments.
Okay. So you have a handout that we have given to you tonight. And if you hold it, tell it's still warm. Just came off the print. And been working with Leanne all day today, getting all this stuff ready for you. And it's a lot of numbers, and it's very complicated. And just to pull it down like this, it just takes a lot of work, as you notice. There's nothing easy about this. So, the first item, there's about 3 pages of this handout. 1, 2, 3, 4 pages that deal with amendments here at the end of the year. The first one are payments that, our budget amendments that we executed in the month of August. And usually you approve these in the consent agenda, but we're going to go ahead and get you approve these tonight, not wait till the September board meeting. On that page, there's nothing really too exciting or large. On the 3rd page over, these are the final budget amendments that we propose to you in order to assure that when all is said and done, we close out the fiscal year, that none of our functions are over budget. And to do that, we use round numbers. And there's a lot of things that could influence the amount. One is the payroll accrual, which has not been done yet for the month of August. And also, there's accounts payable. We'll still be collecting expenses on last fiscal year through about mid-October. So we have to kind of project what we think these functions are going to look like when all is said and done. It's a painstaking process, as Leanne and I worked on it today. And these are usually pretty round numbers. For instance, we were increasing function 12 by 100 grand, and I think there was probably a position that was added that wasn't in the original budgeted, function 12, and some other things. The big one of the big ones was 100,000 in function 31 and 100,000 function 36, which most of that is going to be the playoff fund. That we probably hit over 150,000 at the end of the year, and we originally budgeted 100,000. We placed another 100,000 in 51. 51 is maintenance, and that one is pretty much every year since like the last few years that we've had to increase it 100,000 or 200,000 just to make sure that we're not going to go over budget in function 51. And then the next page will be budget amendments that go against the fund balance. And most of those, I think, except for 1 in July, no, that was also Fund 240. Most of these are going against our fund balance in the child nutrition fund. You know, one of the things that we needed to do to stay in good graces with TDA, Texas Department of Ag, was to spend down this large fund balance that we find ourselves blessed with. And so we did that here. And we bought some fixed assets like our ice makers, roll-up doors. And so those are the amendments, the final budget amendments for the last fiscal year that we need a motion to approve and pass on.
Do I hear a motion? Cheyenne? A second? Mary Ann? Any further discussion? All in favor? And you got it. Okay, next.
Thank you. Now, once those are done, then they are applied to the budget for the last fiscal year. And what you have here the next page over is the final amended operating budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. On this sheet, you see original budgets, you see the final budgets, and the net effect per function of all the budget amendments that took place throughout the year, including what we just did tonight. The revenue budget, the amendments are about 1.3, and that's reflective of the 3 pennies that we passed here locally. So we had increased our revenues and consequently also have increased our expenditures. This is showing 1.5 million increase. So again, this is taking the original budget for 23-24. It's applying all the budget amendments that you've approved throughout the year, including the ones that you approved tonight. And it's coming up with the new final amended budget for 23-24. Do you have any questions about this one? Don't be bashful.
Do I hear a motion to accept the final amended budget? Okay, Lloyd, you have a second? Mary Ann, further discussion? All in favor? Okay, don't want to rush you on that one. All right, district operating budget.
All right, now we're turning our focus on next year's budget, 24-25. And we're presenting to you draft number 3 on today's date of August 27th. And can you put that up on the screen? No, you don't have to. Not on the.
Not electronic.
No, electronic. Okay. So it shows that the proposed budget for next year is a revenue of 35 million, $30,168, and an expenditure budget of $34,623,177, for a net income of $407,000. Now that $407,000 is split on the bottom of this sheet between the INS fund. So even with the extra $500,000 that we budgeted in the INS fund, we're still projecting a surplus of $263. Child nutrition, we're projecting a surplus of $134. So that's going to be an ongoing issue of us, is being able to spend down our fund balance. Because you got to really be careful how you spend it down, because you still have to get approval for everything you do through TDA. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now you see that the general fund is a positive. Got to be a little small number, 8,555, but it's positive. It's not a deficit budget. So that's the budget summary, and then I've given you the revenues in the spreadsheet for all the district, and then the second one is the revenues in Fund 199, and then we have the disbursements by campus and department, and that ties to that summary sheet. And then the next sheet over is the annual operating budget for 24-25, and it's 30. This also will tie to that summary sheet. The 35 million income and the 34.6 million on the expenditures or appropriations. And if you take a minute and look those over, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask So what is it? Instruction's gone up 48%. School leadership increased 5%. There's a 9% increase in the maintenance. 7% increase in the debt service. Use that extra $500,000 payment. And again, this budget includes funds 181, 182, 183, 199, 240, food service, and 599, the INS. So all those funds are rolled into this one. And that's disclosed there on the bottom left of that budget. But I'll be happy to entertain any questions. The next sheet over is 9 pages that's coming off of our Ascender software that we use for all of our accounting. And this one shows you those different funds, 181, 182, 183, 199, 240, 599. Shows you the revenues by fund that we are projecting, the appropriations. And it shows you the gain or loss on the far right, which net to 406,991. And so these are broken down further all the way through page 9. And you're welcome to study these even later and holler if you have any questions. But that report comes from Ascender. So, and then the final page shows you all of the appropriations or all the expenditures, and it breaks it down by function. So you see the function 11, 16.7 million, which is 47% of our overall budget is instruction. Any questions about the presentation of our 2025 budget?
Do I hear a motion that we accept the district operating budget for 2025? Charles Alderson. Second, Linda. Any further discussion?
I'm just glad it's in the positive.
Yeah.
And I assume nobody's squawking that they didn't get what they wanted, but
No?
pretty much everybody
They're
did.
pretty mature about it.
All in favor? M&O.
All right, now, we're getting into the areas where these were in the board book. Okay. This extra handout was not in the book book, that was given, we've gone through this extra handout. So the M&O that we are proposing is 0.6969 for next year. And so we're asking the board to approve the M&O rate effective for next year.
Do I have a motion?
0.6969. It's actually just a hair less than it was the previous year.
Cheyenne? Do I hear a second? Mary Ann? Further discussion? All in favor? Okay, sinking.
Interest in sinking. All right, we're going to maintain a rate of 20 cents for next year. And management is proposing the school board approve an INS rate of 20 cents.
Do I hear a motion to accept that one? Linda? Second? Mary Ann? Any further questions? All in favor? Tax ordinance 48.
All right, so this is a kind of like a resolution of the board. And normally it gets read aloud at this board meeting. You don't want this read aloud again? Or you want to just refer to the hard
Is
copy?
it supposed to be?
No, not necessarily.
I don't think you need to read it aloud.
Okay. So this, you approve the M&O, you approve the INS, and those fall into this ordinance. And based on this ordinance, this gives Justin Carruthers the authority to levy the tax for next year. There's a couple things in here. One note that says this tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. So even though the M&O is compressed a little bit, it's still going to raise more taxes than M&O taxes than we raised the previous year. Also a note here that talks about the tax rate will effectively increase by 1.86% and will increase taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $44. So that's the impact on a $100,000 home, $44 extra dollars of M&O. You have a motion to approve that ordinance?
Do you hear a motion? All right, Lloyd, is there a second? Okay, Cheyenne, all in favor of tax ordinance number 48? Okay. Fund balance resolution.
All right, once a year, we come to you as a board and request that you approve a resolution designating certain parts of our unrestricted fund balance. And I think these are pretty much the same as we had designated the prior year, but I'll go through one by one. One is $100,000 fund balance, and we're asking the board to commit toward the district's 25% residential placement set-aside requirement under the Individuals with Disabilities Act Part B. You have the option of doing it through a board resolution for the fund balance, or actually putting it into your budget. So we didn't have room for it in the budget, so we'd rather do it this way, by doing a resolution setting aside fund balance for that purpose. The second one there is we're resolving to commit $500,000 toward the district's property and casualty loss deductible in the event of a catastrophic loss. It's the same as we did last year. And this one was also the same as we did last year. It's a $2 million commitment to offset potential future fluctuations in state aid and or delays in the district's August state payment. So if the state ever does an adjustment to your income, that's kind of their favorite thing to do, is to delay your August payment to the next fiscal year. So if they should do that, then we're committing $2 million out of the fund balance to overcome that deficit.
Mr. Frazier, excuse me. Is that something other school districts, is that the majority of school districts do that little $2 million thing or around it? Or is that
It's
just something
recommended.
that, okay,
Yeah.
it's recommended,
Yeah,
but not a set.
not like a
So
requirement.
it's good that we do that, yeah.
And, you know, if we can designate legitimate purposes for the fund balance, that reduces the unassigned fund balance.
Yeah.
And if the state starts looking around at school districts' fund balances, and they see that your unassigned fund balance is pretty high, they may get tempted to, you know, we'll take that. Probably had something to do really with the way they treated us this year, because they knew that a lot of school districts have handsome fund balances left. So anyway, it's a good idea to go ahead and designate as much of the fund balance to legitimate causes like this, that to get that unrestricted, to get that unassigned fund balance down to a reasonable level. Don't want to get it down too low, because it has to meet certain requirements in terms of the amount of fund balance that we keep.
I was mainly talking about the $2 million.
Yeah.
Because if they say, we're not gonna pay you right now, good luck, there it is for us. So,
Mhm.
good.
All right, then finally, we have a $500,000 assignment for major capital outlays that it would not be in the budget, and you never know what major capital outlays that the district needs to take care of. When you go into your 500,000, it goes by really fast when you start talking about capital projects. This would have to be approved by the superintendent and the school board, any use of this 500,000. But here again, we've taken 500,000 out of our unassigned and assigned it to capital outlays. All right, so the board approved this resolution for fund balance?
Do I hear a motion that we approve the fund balance resolution for August 31st, 2024? All right, Mary Ann, do I hear a second? Linda? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, GASD 54.
And if you picked up a copy of the audit report on, you'll see on the balance sheet the designations that you've approved, and they do show up on the balance sheet as, as assigned or committed fund balance. Ready for GASB 54? This is assignment of campus activity funds. Part of the fund balance will be assigned to the activity funds. And the amount that will be assigned will be determined usually close to the end of the audit, when we know exactly how much funds are actually in the campus activity funds. It's probably a good 500,000. So it's a pretty good chunk. Most of it is high school. But, they're over 300,000 at the high school. And all of their activity funds, and they got tons of activity funds. So this is a resolution that basically states that we will not touch those campus activity funds and that we'll protect them. And that's important. You know, if the district's getting a hole a little bit, they might be tempted to go grab some money out of the campus activity funds. And they've never done that since I've been here. I heard it was done before my time, but it's not a very popular thing. And those funds are protected, and this is recognizing that from the board. So there's a commitment that the school board is making to the rest of the school that your activity funds are protected. We're not going to touch it. And, so if you're willing to approve that, I would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And they appreciate, you know, the stewardship that you have of these funds.
You have these activity accounts, and I'm talking from high school days, and you need to take some money out of that account. What process do you go through and who approves it?
For the central office to take?
Well, usually it's, well, used to you'd fill out a PO and turn it into the, like, I guess maybe
The
financial
bookkeeper?
bookkeeper, yes.
Yeah.
And then they would get that approved. Who approves it?
Well, like Daryl was saying, we don't take money from the activity accounts at the campuses.
Right, but I mean, that's being done on the school campus. Who on the school campus
Oh.
approves that requisition?
Probably the principal and the bookkeeper. Like at the high school, like if one of the various organizations needed to use some of their activity account, they would go to Kay,
Right.
and then she would, you know, Liz would approve it, and the
But the principal.
and the sponsor of the
Okay,
organization.
sponsor and the principal would sign off on it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that right, Daryl?
Mhm.
Uh,
The business office receives a report from all the different campuses every month. And those reports are kind of audited, like an
By
internal
you?
audit. Mhm.
Okay. That was my
Lucille-
next question. Who
Lucille
audits
starts the
those?
audit, and then I review after Lucille's review. Lucille does a good job of
Do you by any-
overseeing those accounts.
Do you, by any chance, offhand, have an idea of how much the Big Sting has in their account right now?
No, I don't. I'd have to go grab the report. There's so many funds out there. I don't know how much is in each fund
I know that
by
before,
memory.
yeah, before
But I can
Velvet,
go look it up.
yeah, before Velvet left, she had gotten another really big, generous donation. So her indication to me was it was very healthy. But as far as the exact number, I don't know offhand.
Mhm.
And you audit that fund?
I don't know.
My only
So is that
concern,
something that you want me to?
well, my only
Go for
concern is
you.
that just, I'm sure there's just a handful of really big ones.
Right.
And make sure that everything that's going through all of that money is on the up and up.
Mhm.
Nothing, I have any indication that it's not.
Right.
So,
It's just a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. It's a wonderful, wonderful service to our community.
Okay, is that,
That was the last.
did y'all do this one?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, GASB 54, do I hear a motion we approve that? Okay, Linda, a second. Cheyenne? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, our superintendent says we don't really need to go to executive session, so our board meeting is adjourned.
Daryl's last board meeting.
Thank you, Daryl.
Yeah.